this bitch is bipolar, and I say this with all the loving kindness I... Welcome to We're Not Critics. I'm your co-host Melanie, and I've already had a beer at the pool hall, and I'm having a nice snort of Blackland whiskey, so it's going to be an interesting afternoon. I'm joined by my young, hot co-host AJ, because we're talking about a movie with an older woman and young, hot men. AJ's so embarrassed and grossed out. Hey, you know who would love this movie? Tree Trunks from from Adventure Time.
My adventurous instincts tell me to seduce that tentacled critter with my womanly charms and elephant prowess. I'm helping you by tempting this guy with my body. I'm the sexiest adventurer in the world.
Luckily, Channing Tatum doesn't sleep with a tiny elephant.
No.
He sleeps with Salma Hayek.
Oh, okay, not bad. All right, so we're talking about Magic Mike's Last Dance.
I don't dance anymore.
Then I got Magic Mike's Last Dance. It's what you were meant to be doing.
Which I was dying to see. When we saw the promo, I was like, yes, oh my god, life has been crap lately. I need this movie in my life. So Channing Tatum has basically come full circle. This is Step Up 7.
Kinda.
It's a step-up movie.
It
very
really
step
is.
Up. There's a guy who's down on his luck. He's a really talented dancer. Someone says, hey, we can do this thing and make a lot of money. You want to do that? And he's like, I don't have anything
And
else
it'll
to do.
only take X amount of time. Like
Yeah, and we only have this
or...
one shot to do it. So it's kind of, this movie let me down in some ways, which we'll talk about. So it's kind of like, it's like The Godfather 3 of this trilogy.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's like between the two. It's not as serious as 1, but it's not as funny as 3.
2.
2.
Magic Mike XXL is the second one, and
Yeah.
it is hysterical.
How much for the Cheetos and water?
I love that movie so much.
It's
It makes
so
me laugh so
fucking-
hard. But honestly, we were talking, this is the only place this could have ended up.
Yeah.
Like, where else are they going to go with it?
He could have opened his own strip club. I mean, he kind of did in this, sort of.
Kind of. Okay, so it starts out with an element that both of us hate, and it's this young voice narrator talking about dance, and how dance brings people together.
I literally hate
Like, I don't want to be one of those asshole Americans who's like, you talk funny, you have an accent, but it's like she's throwing up when she says the word dance.
It's
dance.
a very pretentious accent, I think.
And it's from a character we meet later, and it doesn't make sense.
I hated it. I hated it. The biggest problem with the entire movie is that voiceover.
Well, it's not...
from a character who does nothing, who's not in the movie. I mean, she
is.
physically is, but she has nothing to do with dance.
And it comes up maybe 3 times, like beginning, middle, end, we have this narration, and it's really not... I know they were kind of trying to do creative exposition,
It kind of
but it just doesn't work.
It kind of sounds like a moment in, like, a Charlotte's Web or something, where someone would say some whimsical British thing that would, like, let us know what's about to happen, and it's sort of weird.
So basically we learn through this awkward voiceover that dance brings people together, but also the pandemic sucked and Channing Tatum lost his furniture business. So now he has a gig as a bartender at a wealthy woman's charity fundraising event. So Salma Hayek comes up to him and tells him she wants to see him later. So she's the one putting on this charity event in Miami. And she propositions him very awkwardly.
Yeah. It comes off very much like she wants more than what he's selling.
Yeah, and we know what she's asking for, but honestly, if this had happened to anybody else, they'd be like, are you asking me for sex? Are you a cop? What's going on?
It's very...
So she offers to pay him $6,000 for a lap dance.
Dollars like money?
Because she's going through a divorce and she feels sad. And he's like, I'll do it for $60,000. And honestly, I mean, it's a pretty cool dance. So I don't know if I don't have $60,000 to pay Channing Tatum to throw me up in the air like that. But
well,
$6,000.
It's also not really her money because, you know.
Oh yeah, this character. Okay, so Salma Hayek disappointed me so much because I'm like, yes, we're empowering an older woman who is in her prime and she can pull a hot young guy, and I thought she's going to be this powerful businesswoman. No, she's all her money comes from her husband, who she's going through a divorce with, and she's just playing with it.
And they sort of address it with the story of the play that's in the film, but also it's still just a whiny rich girl who's like, I don't know if I should leave my husband because I won't have all this money that I didn't do anything to make. Like,
so yeah,
how empowering is that really?
Yeah, that's
women.
That's a problem through the whole movie. I mean, my favorite character was the actress who was doing the play. She's like, I'm here for some dick. So anyway, so he does this erotic dance for Salma Hayek, and they end up sleeping together. And she says, I have a job for you. It'll only be a month. Come to England with me. And he's like, well, what's the job? And she doesn't tell him.
Don't
so I'm
worry
like,
about it.
What in the Christian Grey is happening?
It's $60,000. Don't question. $60,000.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, we just did our last episode was about the 50 Shades movies and how we hated it so much.
Oh, and this is so much better.
Well, and it's almost the same thing where this rich person is basically buying somebody, like distracting them, like, hey, don't look at my personality flaws. Here's some money and here's some extravagance.
But at least it's actually something that they're talented in, and they are kind of leading the work and everything. It's not like Anastasia just keeps getting a new job and a new job, all based off of her boyfriend who owns the company.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So
and fires her boss and this and that. But here, at least he's like a legitimately talented dance producer person.
We'll get to Mike's job in just a moment, but I don't want to skip over one of my favorite moments. They're flying really bougie first class to England, and they have tea and little sandwiches, and he's peeling off the cucumbers, and he just goes, I don't really fuck with vegetables.
I'm going to get that man some meat. He is a king, for corn's sake.
I love Mike, and like his lines are so funny. Like he meets her daughter later on. He's like, "Oh shit, hi." Like, I don't know what's going on, man. These bitches are driving me crazy. So I love him so much. I love the character of Mike. So finally, we learn when he gets to England. I guess he can pay his apartment rent and everything. Whatever. That would stress me out too much. I'm obviously a homebody and shaking.
Maybe
up my
he
world
got an advance.
Maybe. Okay. Those things stress me out. So her husband's family owns a theater, and they've been doing this very prim and proper play. It looks like The Importance of Being Earnest or something like that. It's a made up play, but it's basically kind of that late 1800s era.
Ascendant?
Isabella Ascendant or so. She wants to put on a dance concert. I was a dance major in college, and that's what you call them, is dance concerts. Although they never call this in
the whole
movie.
time. Like, what is it?
It's a show. It's a dance concert because God forbid you call it a recital.
It vaguely has a storyline, but only the very beginning.
Yes. So, and she wants Mike to be the creative director, and so that's what he will be paid to do. And so they have to go out and find guys who haven't really done the stripper thing before, but they're good hip-hop dancers or whatever. And that's where I saw the promos. I'm like, oh, it's a step-up movie.
Well, okay, yeah.
So there's some good actual dancing talent, and there's some sexy dancing, too. It's a Magic Mike movie. You have to have hot men gyrating.
It is funny when they're doing the audition process, and Mike just has to kind of be like, yeah, like, go in there, get in there. Like,
yeah, and there's one guy who starts humping Salma Hayek aggressively.
And he's just like,
No, pulls him off of her. So that's funny. And also, their AV tech guy is a fat guy who he should not be British. Like,
he looks American.
He looks so American. I can't explain it, but you hear that British accent come out of his mouth, and they're like, you need to be Stingray's cousin or something from Cobra Kai.
Yeah, and there was somebody else that looked like aggressively English. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was her driver.
Yeah, so Salma Hayek, at first you think, oh, she's this arts patron and everything. This bitch is bipolar, and I say this with all the loving kindness I can. AJ has a very surprised look on his face. I'm not
surprised.
I have bipolar disorder.
I wanted to call it out first.
I have bipolar disorder, and it's not, luckily, it's not like you necessarily see in the movies all the time where it's really cartoonishly outrageous, but she is clearly in a manic phase.
Mm-hmm.
She's irritable. She jumps on everything he says. She argues. She picks fights for no reason.
Suddenly decides things based off of nothing. Like,
On
she
a
puts
whim.
him in charge as the expert, and then she's like, yeah, but we need to have, like, this guy. He's like this. And he's like...
And just ideas. And
whatever.
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I thought, I have felt what she has felt. So she's going through a very stressful time. She's going through a nasty divorce, and there's a child involved.
It wouldn't be that big of a deal if it wasn't for two things. One, if even though she was having these moments, she seemed to legitimately be helping or producing something worthwhile, that would have been good. But she doesn't. It very much just seems like she's doing things at random and she's making it harder on Mike.
Yeah, no pun intended. It's just a shit show.
They end up together and it's kind of weird.
Oh, I hate that.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and then so they say...
It could have been good.
They say they're not going to have a sexual romantic relationship while they're doing the production because work is work. And
after the night that she paid for, anyway.
Yeah. So after that, when they go to England, they try to keep it all business. And the other people from the other movies aren't really in it much, but I do appreciate that Tito tries to call him, and Tito was in the second movie. I don't really remember him much. But then on his phone, my favorite part is big eggplant emoji Richie.
Yeah.
That's what Big Dick Richie calls him.
So, yeah.
And so he does a Zoom call with the boys.
It is nice
and
that
that's
they
it.
address that his friends are still out there and, like...
They're living their lives with their girlfriends or whatever.
You know, call his friend and be like, yeah, man, this is going on. And Richie's like, yeah, bro, stick with the rich girl. Like...
Yeah.
I know that lifestyle now, so...
Yeah, these guys are living their best lives with their sugar mamas, and I'm here for it. Whatever. That's fine. So, really, I love Mike. Selma Hayek is just irritating. This character is...
She's a lot.
She's a lot. She's a lot to handle.
She's also a bad mom.
Yeah, she ignores her adopted daughter. The butler who hangs out with them is cool. I like him.
But... her child's a little infuriating, so...
She's very posh and British in a way that Americans think British children would be. Like, she's Hermione.
Yeah, but, like, more annoying, though. She's precocious. Stop writing precocious kids. Like, write kids the way kids are kids. It's fine if they're smart. I've met smart kids. I've met, like, 9-year-olds and had conversations with them, and they're, like, sarcastic little bastards. You know? And, like... they're normal people, but they are kids. They're not adults. So, quit fucking doing that. She was so annoying. Plus, her being the whole voiceover person.
Narrator.
For no reason.
Yeah, and she and Mike are kind of frosty at first, but then they team up and form an alliance. So, anyway, with this show... it's going along fine, and then I think her soon-to-be ex-husband gets wind of it, and he tries to shut it down for different reasons, like the building's a historical building. So one of the funniest and weirdest things is that there's a woman who is, I guess, has some kind of public office job where she's in charge of things like this, giving building permits or whatever. And so all the hot guys in the show kind of stake her out. And then she's on a bus, and they do the weirdest flash mob dance ever. And this guy's dressed as Rothbart from Swan Lake.
But, like...
they don't play the Swan Lake music, though. That was the one thing of, like, you should have played the Swan Lake music.
But in white.
Yes, he was good, Rothbart. And it was a little shout out because they were doing Swan Lake at another theater. But I thought they should have just gone full Swan Lake.
Maybe he was supposed to be the Swan. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe, like, what if Swan Lake...
and dudes.
What if Odile and Odette were dudes instead?
I'm glad that they don't explain how they timed this, where they're the only people on the bus. The bus driver is totally on board with it. He doesn't stop or question anything about them harassing this woman in the back.
No, the most terrifying thing, she's sitting at the very back, and all of a sudden they all turn and look at her, and that would scare the shit out of me if that happened.
It would be like a Black Mirror episode or something, like if you're going to work and you look up and everyone
turns and looks at you, and they look at their watch, and I'm like, oh god.
You're the only non-replicant. You're the only real human
and
here.
like, you're gonna take me to that Stepford wife thing and put a chip in my brain, aren't you? So anyway, they get the building permit.
That is the funniest shit, because they cut it off halfway through the scene.
Like, right when Rothbart's right in her face, like, boom, they cut it off, and then they stamp, they get the permit, and like, what did they do to this woman?
No explanation, no, like, what's the big finale? I love that they're like, no, it doesn't make sense. And we're not going to try to make it make sense. We're just jumping to, we got what we wanted.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. Like, sometimes I like that they cut it off a little too soon, so you're like, what happened? And maybe they didn't want to write the rest of it, or who knows what, but it's kind of funny when a joke is cut off, because you're just like, what the hell?
It was the best moment.
Yeah, so, meanwhile, one of the conflicts is that they can't think of a way to end the show, and Salma Hayek's daughter calls her out and says, you're the queen of the first acts. Like, she always starts these charities, or these projects, or these art things, and never follows through, which is kind of just...
maybe comes from not having her own anything, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and now her husband was unfaithful, and I think that's why they're getting a divorce, but she just has been bored and hasn't found the right thing to do. So, I don't know, if I had a husband who was a billionaire, I want to find something to do.
Get a job.
Oh, get a job? Yeah. Just get a job? Why don't I strap on my job helmet and squeeze down into a job cannon and fire off into Jobland, where jobs grow on jobbies?
Just, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, just...
Well, and if you find yourself going through a divorce, then you're like, oh crap, I gotta find something to hold on to.
Yeah, it would be nice if she had built skills with all that money, or, gone to school, or...
No. So Queen of the First Act, and so there's also this, I couldn't quite understand it, but I think it's if they go through with the show on a certain day, his mother is going to nullify the prenup, and Salma Hayek's not going to get any money from the divorce, something like that.
Okay, no. But there's like two different things. One, the husband does not want this to happen because
it's dirty
his mother is like somehow in control of what's going on in their divorce, and there's things that were signed there like to hold up like the face of the family's businesses, basically, like their reputations and whatnot.
Yeah.
So having a strip routine would interfere with that, so that means she wouldn't get anything. Then there's the whole thing that they only have until like Sunday night to do it at all because their stage is too high or something.
It's a building permit thing.
There's a permit thing that's like, if you don't fix it by you're shut down, so technically you're open till then, and they don't have enough time to do it. Then they rush the last whatever thing. Bam, that's all.
Yeah, and so back to the Queen of the First Act, it's kind of saying her life, but then also the show itself doesn't have really a good ending, and she and Mike keep arguing about it. And I have in my notes, show is hilarious, unicorn, 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 Magic Mike in quotes, an intermission with kittens, Max dance, pony, she's broke.
Okay.
So let's explain those bullet points. That's a lot.
I do love that... Okay, the girl that gets to be in the show, she kind of calls out, like, this is kind of weird. I'm just supposed to say this line, and then everyone does exactly what I want. Like, a unicorn gave me a wish. And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
Let's throw it.
And so they literally give her a magic microphone. Magic Mike, get it?
And have her say something to it. He's the unicorn.
He voices the unicorn.
She calls out to a unicorn, like, literally in the middle of a Elizabethan dressed scene. And he's like, hey, babe, what's up? Like,
well, it's more like romantic era, but yeah.
He talks like him.
He sounds like Channing Tatum. Everybody's British in this, and then there's Channing Tatum.
And he doesn't try to sound like
up?
he doesn't try to sound like a magic unicorn.
No, it's just like, hey babe, what's up?
He's just like, no, what do you want? And she's like, I want a man like this. He's like, okay, you got it.
I want a bad boy who texts me back. So she gets like weirdly specific about certain things. Like, I want a man who blows his nose in a Kleenex and throws the Kleenex in the trash. Boom! Sexy fireman shows up. And so
I want a man that doesn't know how to fix his own car, but he knows who to call on a weekend.
Boom! Sexy guy with a phone shows up.
I want a man that's good with money. Shows an Asian guy. What the fuck?
Yes, they did. They were like, I want a guy who's a CEO. The one Asian guy in the show. Okay.
Kind of rude. But anyway.
He was a good dancer. Okay, so the show is fun. If you like the Magic Mike movies and you want the pure guilty pleasure of sexy men doing sexy dancing, last part is really good. And then also, I have Max dance written in here. I want to get to the intermission first because the weirdest thing happened. With 14 minutes and 20 seconds in the movie to go, for like 60 seconds, this screen with kittens shows up, and it says intermission. And so
I just think they didn't want to show what the literal boring intermission of the show would be like, where people go to the bathroom and come back and do all that stuff.
So
they put in, like, this is like the old school intermission thing at movies, right?
Bollywood movies
Like,
still do intermission.
so
It's just like this little, it's like not even 60 seconds, like 20 seconds of little kittens playing. You're like, aw. And then sexy men come back. So at the end, this is how Mike decides to end it. Okay, you know that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Mac does this
Where it's
really
amazing.
moving... Yeah, he does this really moving contemporary dance with a woman, and the message is basically he's coming out and saying, I'm gay, and it's been really difficult for me to say this, and like Danny DeVito's crying and saying, I get it, and everybody who's watching is crying, and Mac's dad walks out and everything. So it's basically that... So it's Channing Tatum and this, he needed a ballerina and a plumber because he needed a really good dancer and he needed it to be raining. So they needed the plumber to do the water
because
feature.
it was going to be his rendition of his relationship with Selma Hayek.
Yeah.
And her, except what I guess he wishes he had done instead of letting her run away in the rain or whatever.
Something
cool.
like that. They have arguments left and right. And so the dance is really good. Man, he slides her on her ass all over that stage in water. I'm guessing they had a Mylar floor. So it's really good. The dancing in the movie is really good. And so they end that, and then we hear Pony. They're like, blah, blah. I love that song by Genuine. So Pony is the final dance, and they get like the permit lady and this old lady who's Selma Hayek's friend, and they get them all up and they do sexy gyrating dances on them, and the old ladies are going crazy. And so they end with confetti and sexy men everywhere. And then Selma Hayek is just like, I'm broke now. And Mike starts to walk off. And then he comes back, he's like, no, just kidding. And I was like, dude, this was your out because she's crazy. This bitch is crazy. I'm sorry. And I say this as somebody with diagnosed mental illness that I deal with every day. This bitch is crazy, Mike. Doesn't matter how much money she has or doesn't have or how good that was.
I get what they were trying to do. It's just they needed to write her a little bit more genuinely skillful, I guess. And like there are some people who are crazy, but they're like there's a positive for it. Like, they're a genius, but they want to murder or something. There's like a balance. She's just insane and all over the place. And
she was infuriating. She didn't contribute anything helpful except for money.
If she had correctly contributed, it would have been a better ending.
No, and I was just like, Mike, no, don't go with her. So that was the only thing that I was kind of disappointed of how it ended. And then we got some stupid narration from the daughter.
Which, every time she talked, I hated it. I was so angry.
It was not necessary.
You don't know what you're talking about. She's like talking about what dance means to humans as like a species that evolved over time, but she never has anything to do with dancing or anything. She just like, I'm writing a novel. Good for you.
Okay, so am
weirdo. Who I've tried to write novels, but I'm not a 13-year-old that thinks like, yeah, this is first shot. It's gonna be perfect.
It was okay. Am I glad I didn't pay to see it in the movie theater? Yeah, this is one of because movies are expensive now. They're like $11 when they're on sale. So I'm glad I didn't spend $25 to go see it in the movie theater. I am glad I watched it at home. Will I need to watch it again? Probably not. I could watch XXL over and over and over again. The movie's so funny.
I think it's the worst of the three, but it's still decent.
It's better than most of the Step Up movies.
It's the third.
Better than Step Up 6 China.
Yeah, but that movie was awful.
Yeah.
Except for the white guy that appeared behind the other guy.
And the jacket that said when everything else was in Chinese. Okay.
Anyway, it's probably better than the first two, actually. But the big issue, which
big being the operative word, if you know what I mean.
Shut up. I don't know who's to blame, but maybe it's men, or maybe it's women. It doesn't necessarily matter, but if it's women, I'm a little more disappointed. The weird empowerment stuff always ends up being don't do anything for what you get.
What do you mean?
It's it's her empowerment story, but she doesn't actually ever do anything. She,
not really,
from beginning to end, is just living off her husband's family money, and she doesn't like take it and go like, you know what, I'm gonna take $10,000. I'm gonna take it out of your family's money. I admit it's your family's money, but right now I'm gonna take it away, and I'm gonna invest it in something, and I'm gonna grow my own business or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's just purely, I wished on a unicorn, and a unicorn brought me dick. And that's it. Like, it's just, it's a little infuriating. All the I'm not against female empowerment stories. I'm totally cool with it. But, like, have them work at it. There's good examples of it, but it's like the ones that yell the loudest about it always suck.
Yes, white cis het man, keep explaining to me how women should be more
I can
empowered.
have opinions.
I'm kidding.
Am I wrong?
For this movie, no, I don't think. If the message was female empowerment, not exactly.
Okay.
But can women objectify men? Yes, and they did lots of that in this
Yeah,
movie.
if that was
and that was fun.
If that was a message, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's fun.
Objectify people just like men do, and like whatever. And then go home to your actual person who doesn't look like a stripper.
Like we all do.
Like
you know?
everybody does. But so that's fine. I'm cool with that. That being like, let's be equal, just like dudes, and how disgusting they are and how they objectify.
Can we just have some fun? Yeah.
That's cool. I just don't like... Okay, Mulan is an amazing example of a female empowerment story. The original one.
Oh, okay, the animated one, not the
But
new one.
not the new one where she doesn't work for anything and just has magic powers.
Yeah.
You see
Okay.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the man talked too long. Men shouldn't talk about women's opinion. It's like a 6 out of 10 single dollar bills. Like that's the rating.
Stuffed into a G-string banana hammock.
Yeah, that's the rating for this movie. Like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not perfectly average. It's just fun.
It's fun. If you like the Magic Mike movies, definitely watch this. If you like the Step Up movies, I always like to think that his character in Step Up basically turned into Mike. So
He kind of does.
Yeah, he kind of is. He's kind of that same character. So watch Step Up 1. My recommendations would be, yes, I liked this movie, but definitely watch Step Up 1 with Channing Tatum, Magic Mike, the first one, and then Magic Mike XXL.
XXL and Step Up 3. Step Up 3, I think it has almost the exact same amount of money that someone's, training for a month to get, and it's split amongst 20 people, so it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so they all get like 20 bucks. So anyway, if you want to follow us and give us some dollar bills, we are on Instagram, We're Not Critics, YouTube, Twitch, Discord. I used to say Anchor, but Anchor's not a thing anymore. Spotify and iTunes. Big Dick Richie, we miss you.
Do we though? I mean...
Yes.
Okay.